Hey friends, Shay here. So let's dive into the concept of this video. I've already talked to you about it a little bit, so let's go ahead and go from there. So today is May 1st. We're going to pick out my my physical book, TBR, for the month, roughly. I do a mood read quite a bit, but I wanted to kind of bring you along on the journey of how I select things. And throughout the month, if I get recommended something that I want to add to my TBR, I'm going to go ahead and explain that, where that came from. I do have a couple of things planned because I tend to look for recommendations this way, but we're going to go on a couple of adventures for this video as well. So first things first, I do have some challenges that I do this year. So the first one is my 40 and 40. Let's see. Did I mark anything off this last month? I do not think I did. So I have yes, I did. I did two. The two that I conquered last month were the main event and Magic Bites. This month, there's a couple that I want to make sure I hit that are actually recommendations from friends. This is a way that I get the books that I want to read all the time. I have a great bookish friend group, and I get tons of recommendations from them. So a lot of them are the ones for this list. So with that said, I'm going to... I know I want to read We Could Be So Good by Cat Sebastian this month, so I'm going to go ahead and add that one. And I know I finally want to get around to picking up Gravity. I meant to pick it up in, January, but it didn't happen. I love me some Tal Bauer, and I'm itching for it, so we're going to go ahead and go for it. Another one that's a carryover is Wind and Truth. I technically haven't started this yet, but it's one of those things where I've been hyperfixated on the Firebird Chronicles, so I'm going to go ahead and add that as well. Technically, all of my Brandon Sanderson reading is a recommendation from my spouse. I do get recommendations from him as well. So yeah, those are pretty tried and true choices for this TBR. The next place that I go to pick out my reads for the month is NetGalley. So one thing we're going to do is try a chapter for this one. I have a bunch of older NetGalleys, and I do want to try to read a few of those this month. The furthest back I have is one that came out in May of 2022. I've not been as good with keeping up with things lately. So I want to make sure. So I'm going to make a separate list of the try chapters for the ones that'll actually end up on my TBR. I actually think I'm going to focus on historical romances because I have a handful of these, or historical settings, because I realized a while back that I wasn't really picking up historical romance, so I didn't pick up a bunch of them. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick things that are historical feeling, historical fiction, historical romances. That's how we'll try a chapter this. Maybe we'll turn it into a video. All right, now that I've got that list compiled together, I know that I want to do a couple of my newer ones as well, just because I'm excited about them. But another one that's friend adjacent, that's an arc, is Not Safe for Work by Nisha J. Tooley. And with everything my friends are telling me, I don't necessarily need to try a chapter on it. I know I'm going to enjoy it. I am in the middle of The River Has Roots, so we'll carry that over. I've just not been picking it up. I think I was reading it too close to when I read This Is How You Lose the Time War, so I kept comparing them, so I wanted to give myself a little more space. But I think I'm finally ready. And then I've got not much left in Sweet Obsession, so I technically counted that for April, so we're not going to talk about that. Another one that I've got that I really want to get to, which might be surprising, is The Prince Without Sorrow. I feel like no one's talking about it in my spaces, so I want to maybe give a voice to that one. So I think that's all I'm going to choose for NetGalley this month. The other thing I do is I look at what's already on my Kindle Unlimited. So let's go ahead and go over there. I want to keep going on In a Rush by Kate Canterbury. found out about this one from everyone who loves Kate Canterbury, because this is the newest one in the series that I went feral for last year in a jam. One that's also on my 40 Before I Turn 40 that I just noticed is also on my KU is Fireheart by Emma Hamm. This looks like a fantasy romance. It's book 1 in the Dragon of Umbra series. So I'm going to go ahead and add that to my TBR as well. So I think that's all I'm going to actively pick for now. And then if I feel like something, or if a recommendation for a KU comes up, I've got the space to check it out. So that's how we're going to handle that one. So I think we're good for now on that. So I think that's going to be like the core of what I'm working on this month. I do get recommendations and add things randomly from my TBR from work. Another thing I'm actively trying to do is if there are any Barnes & Noble monthly picks for that month that interest me, I'm going to actively pick them up. And I do know that there's one for this month. I forgot to write it down. And that is Remarkably Bright Creatures. This is a book that I have heard good things about. And I've seen it forever. Like, it took 3 years, I think, for it to come out in hardcover. And so that tells me a lot about people's feelings about this book and publishers' feelings about this book. So I'm going to go ahead and try that one this month, and we'll see how that goes. I usually try to pick up the kids one as well. I usually will just check it out from the library if I'm unsure. This one is a new series, so I'm less interested in that. The one for last month, Olivetti, was really, really cute. I highly recommend picking up that book anyway. By the time you've seen this video, I'll have a video where I did a wrap up and already talked about it, so I'll link that for you. But yeah, I think that's a great start to my TBR and things to pick from. This is not, I don't go hard mode on my TBR, we'll put it that way. I really enjoy making my TBR and kind of giving myself a guidepost for where I want to be reading. And sometimes that changes, and that is okay. I am not one of those diehards for my TBR people. So with that said, that's where we're going to start. A couple other places you'll see me get recommendations from are customers at work, because I do work in a bookstore. I am going to go around to a couple of my indies and get recommendations from them, and I'll take you along with me for that. And yeah, that's kind of how things are going to go. I might add one that I got at an indie when I was in Texas, and I keep hearing another creator that I watch talk about it, and it makes me kind of want to pick it up and try it. So maybe that'll happen. I don't know. That one's on my physical TBR, so I would not be mad if I ended up reading that. Another thing you're probably going to see me do is a huge TBR cull. I have noticed over the last 6 to 8 months, a lot of the things on my physical TBR, I'm not even tempted to touch or pick up. So I think I'm just ready to say goodbye to a lot of those. I'm kind of in a purge mode of life right now, and so we're just going to go with it. But yes, that's enough for this clip. I'll see you in the next one. Okay, friends, I was really bad about filming for this video during the month. So let's kind of talk about how the month went, more so than seeing the specifics. So my reading month was fantastic in the month of May. I ended up reading 12 books in the month, and the majority of them were very highly rated. I did have one DNF. I've talked about that in another video. I will show the thumbnail and leave the link for you so that you can check that out to get more information there. But things that were on the list that I did hit, I did do that NetGalley Try a Chapter, as you've already seen. And then I did a follow-up video to that, reading some of the ones from the Try a Chapter, as well as some of the other ones that I either had physically or just was coming out soon and I was wildly interested in. So I think that video turned out very well. And then I did a video where this video ends when I get a 5-star kind of situation. That ended up being a really, really good video for me. That's where the DNF lives, by the way. I feel like that helped my reading a whole lot. The one book that I didn't really talk about in any other video except the next two in the Firebird Chronicles. I read books 4 and 5 this month just because I'm obsessed with the series, and we've been doing the read along with that. So didn't talk about those, but I will be talking about those in future live shows coming up. The next one will be at the end of this month. And then the other one that I was going to be talking about in this video, but I haven't yet, is Remarkably Bright Creatures. This is the pick from the Barnes & Noble monthly picks that I opted to read this month, and I adored this. I thought it was so fun. I definitely understand why everybody loves it. This is a very much universally easy to love kind of book. And so I really enjoyed it. I had a great time. I did tear up. I am an emotional human. Y'all know this. And it was so, so good. I really just would highly recommend it. I had already bought a physical copy. So this is one that I knew I wanted to read, and this was just my excuse to finally get around to reading it. I did enjoy the audiobook for it. There were 2 narrators. The octopus has his own narrator, and then the other characters are narrated by the same person. If you're unfamiliar with what this book is about a woman in her retirement years who works at the aquarium. She cleans up at night. She's the custodian. And she has a very special relationship with a octopus named Marcellus that lives at the aquarium. You get Marcellus's perspective because he is nearing the end of his life cycle and he knows it. And it's very interesting how Marcellus brings the entire cast of characters together in a way. And yes, there are some things that could have probably been cleared up earlier in the story, but they weren't. But I still think the way that they were brought around and brought together ended up being really fantastic. I really enjoyed it. So I didn't really read anything from NetGalley this month. I normally do read at least 1 or 2. I just wasn't feeling my Kindle other than getting through a lot of those NetGalleys, which felt really, really good. That took down my TBR significantly, even if I didn't physically read all of them. But yeah, it was a lot of audiobooking this month, and I was just experiencing a lot of stress at work. A lot of that has dissipated now. I've actually been on a staycation at work currently. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I just wanted to check in with you guys. But this is kind of how it goes when I build a TBR. I get recommendations from all over the place. The one that I picked up on recommendations from friends and other people was The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig, which I ended up really enjoying and giving 4.5 stars. A lot of my friends had read Kiss Me Maybe, which is why I ended up adding that to the NetGalley video. And yeah, so I really didn't seek out a lot of recommendations. A lot of the, my particular store at work has been focusing a lot on the monthly picks. So my brain was kind of focused all in that area, and all of ours were. Just because that's something that as a store, we want to make sure we're recommending a little more often. And so we're kind of hardcore focusing on that in our store right now. But with that said, this video probably didn't turn out like everybody else's, and that's okay with me. I'm still really pleased and happy that they invited me to take part. But this is kind of how I build my TBRs and how I get recommendations and where I get them from and how I kind of end up building my content in a weird kind of way, because I kind of look at what I want to read, or I had a specific idea for a video. So how do I pull that together, like the NetGalley thing this month? And it ended up working out really well for me. In June, it's going to be more like recommendation style videos. So that's going to be fun. You'll still get some vlogs and stuff too. And sneak peek at one if you're paying attention to behind me at all. But that's not what we're here for tonight. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you are here just because you love me, make sure you're subscribed to everybody down below that's also a collab partner with me on this. Most of them are friends from the recommendation. I think they're all on the recommendation panel from earlier in the video. So Thanks again. I appreciate and love y'all, and I will see you guys next time.